Okay guys, I'm here today with John Danaher, huge honor for me. Plácido, right after the ADCC the team got a great performance as always, right John?
Yeah.
And guys, this week John is shooting an entire instructional all about Ude Gatame, the straight arm lock, which is going to be Master the Move straight arm lock, which is the second part of the series.
That's
Master
correct.
the Move,
Yeah.
right John?
Master the Move is a series predicated on this essential idea that when it comes to offense in Jiu-Jitsu, the best people in the world typically focus their training time, their skill development into a few select moves which form, as it were, the core moves which define their career. And these can change over time, but you'll find typically most great athletes have like 4 or 5 moves which they're well recognized for, their core moves. In the course of time, they can add a few to it. Sometimes they even lose some of the initial moves that they started with. But at any given time in their career, there's somewhere between 4 to 10 moves which kind of, they as it were, form the basis of their offense. And this is the way it has to be. We all live finite lives. We don't have the ability to learn all of Jiu-Jitsu at the same skill level. We've got to focus on a few things which suit our body type, our personality. And that's always been the case in Jiu-Jitsu. So Master the Move is about putting out a focused study on given moves, typically offensive moves, and people can pick and choose. Okay, this is a move which I have an affinity with, and then devote serious study to it, go in depth, look at the core elements behind it, and then really start to excel. So in this one, I thought we'd spend some time on a move that I've never done a video on previously. This is Ude Gatame, the straight arm lock. This is commonly seen in competition. Anytime we have an arm extended and straight, it's from these kinds of situations that we can go on and get the attack. The idea is, because the arm is already straight, the difference between the preparatory position and the finishing position is minimal. Okay, as opposed to Ude Gatame, where there's a lot of movements have to occur before we can even go into the move. I have to control my training partner's shoulders. I have to find a way to give an angle. And then from here, when I get into the position, the arm is by no means extended. It's going to take a lot of work just to get the arm extended into the lock. Ude Gatame, on the other hand, the arm already starts straight. So there's very little time between the beginning of the execution and the finish of the execution. So the defining characteristic of Ude Gatame is it's the fastest out of the arm locks. And that's one of the big themes that we're looking at in this video. It's important whenever you take on a move and make it your move that you understand the character of the move. The same way in your everyday life, you understand the character of all your different friends, and you have friends that you take to a certain kind of situation. There's friends that you think are the right friend to invite to a party, and there's another friend who's the right friend to invite to a wedding. There's another friend who's the right friend to invite to shared workplace. Okay, you want the solid, reliable guy at workplace, you want the fun guy at the nightclub, and you want the well-spoken, well-mannered guy at the wedding. And same thing with your submission holds. All of your submission holds, all of your offensive moves, they all have their character. They're good in some ways, bad in others. The defining characteristic of Ude Gatame is the fastest of all the arm locks. Okay, it requires the least in the terms of setup and body positioning to get it to work, and the time of execution is the smallest. You can get it done very quickly. Now that means typically in Jiu-Jitsu, what happens is the faster the move is, the less control there is. So what you tend to find with Ude Gatame is a move you can enter into a lot, but if you look at international competition, the number of successful submissions with Ude Gatame is lower than the other major submissions. You're going to see that heel hooks, rear naked strangles, guillotines, Juiz de Fora, Kimura, they score more than Ude Gatame does. So the big question that we have to answer in this video is, well then, what's the place of Ude Gatame in modern Jiu-Jitsu? If it's not as high percentage as submission, why would I study it? The big theme that we're pushing in this video is that Ude Gatame may not be the highest submission score in Jiu-Jitsu, but its tactical value is immense, because you can scare the shit out of people with Ude Gatame. Yeah. It's a fast arm lock that comes on quick. You've seen it many times. When it's on, it's like scream tap in the gym. And you go to attack it several times, and pretty soon your opponent gets nervous, even if you're not submitting them with it. It's a scary thing. Now, Bernardo, you competed your whole life, and I'm 100% sure you'll back me up on this. There is a world of difference when you're in a competitive match between facing an opponent who is filled with confidence versus one who is filled with fear.
Yep.
The opponent who is filled with fear is 10 times more easy to control than the guy who comes out confidently and goes for all of his moves.
Yep.
You want to use Ude Gatame as a means of intimidating opponents. Okay?
Yep.
In Jiu-Jitsu, most of what we do is done by reaching for people. You reach for your guard passes. When you're afraid to reach, it's hard to play Jiu-Jitsu. And Ude Gatame makes you afraid to reach, because every time that arm comes out, you snap on an Ude Gatame, you punch it, and take it Gatame, man, pretty soon the guy's reticent about reaching. And if I can't put my hands on someone, how the hell am I going to beat them? So it's a fantastic way to intimidate opponents into passivity. And once your opponent becomes more passive than you, that's when you take the tactical advantage and you start winning matches through tactics. So not only is it a good submission hold, but it's also tactically such an important move. So we spend a lot of time in this video looking at first the classic methods of Ude Gatame, the ones that most people associate with Ude Gatame. Then we look at my personal favorite method of Ude Gatame, where we incorporate the feet much more than the classic methods. In classic Ude Gatame, most of the control is upper body control. It's done typically through the grip, where the elbow points towards our training partner's head, and we either grab our own elbow or we cross forearms like so. But it's predominantly an upper body control. The legs just come around the opponent like so. I'm a big proponent of using the feet to hook our knees into place. So instead of just squeezing my knees around my opponent, I like to use my feet as hooks into my training partner's far arm. And as a result, when he goes to move his head around, it's locked in place. And it's from positions like this that you can get far more control over your opponent. And this means that we can get those fast movements into Ude Gatame, but you have much superior control to finish it, so you can take your time with the finish. And that's an important thing when you train with your friends in the gym. Like in the gym, you can't just snap an arm on someone. You're gonna be a very unpopular training partner. So I love the speed of entry of the classic Ude Gatame, but I like to use my feet to control my opponent's head and shoulders much more than the classic method, so I can take my time and use it much more safely in the gym. We also look at the tactical value of Ude Gatame. One of the great things about Ude Gatame is you get good at it, pretty soon you're going to get strong defensive reactions. Now, Ude Gatame is a pretty simple lock, and that means the defensive reactions you get to it are typically pretty simple too. Once you map out what those defensive reactions are, man, you adopt a whole different philosophy towards Ude Gatame, where you use the Ude Gatame to get the reaction and you score on the second move, where you don't even expect to score with the original Ude Gatame attack. You expect to score on the second move. Let's say, for example, probably the single most common defensive first reaction to Ude Gatame is the guy you just did it. You've been there 1,000 times. They bring the head over your head, they rotate the elbow, and they free themselves. Exactly. So it might look like something like this. Let's say we were working from butterfly guard, we got underneath the training partner's arm, and then from here, Placido brings his head over mine, rotates, pulls his arm out, and he's gone. Okay, you've been there 10,000 times. Okay, so so is Placido. So once we get in here and we start, the whole battle now is for control over Placido's head height. Okay, I want my head higher than his head. If I can make my elbow pointing towards his ear, I can get his head lower than mine, we can get a win. Placido knows that. So of course, he's going to bring his head over and extract the arm. What we do is we just crimp our elbow to our chest. Notice how he's pushing on my chest to try and generate space? We just thumb post inside. If you just, excuse me 1 minute. Bernardo, I'll need that space.
Told me there. Oh, sorry.
Now, I just bring my knees into my chest, and right from here, right off that reaction, we just dump on my sumigation. Okay, so learning to anticipate the movement and going into the second attack is big. So here we are, we've managed to get to an underdog, and we hit a good, fast, sharp Ude Gatame on our training partner, but he does a good job of coming back in the opposite direction. From here, we attack with sumigation. So what we do in this video, Bernardo, is we mapped out what are the most common reactions to Ude Gatame. They're simple and they're highly predictable. For each major defensive reaction, we posit a second attack, and we map those second attacks onto the original Ude Gatame, and that's when you start getting really good scores with it. That's when you start to see the tactical value. It's not just a submission value with Ude Gatame. It has a tactical value where it intimidates opponents, makes them afraid to reach for you. And if you understand what these secondary reactions are, you can go in and score. Now, we also spend a lot of time with overhook variations of Ude Gatame. Most Ude Gatame in competition involve going underneath an opponent's arm to attack, but we spend a lot of time controlling overhook position, and from overhooks we can often rotate an opponent's arm and go in and get variations of Ude Gatame with the hands on the biceps. We show a whole range of different overhook attacks so that athletes have much more versatility with their entries. Traditionally, Ude Gatame has always been taught as an underhook attack. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because the underhook is a damn good setup for any Ude Gatame. But you double your chances when you can go underhook and overhook. And when you play those two games against each other, the numbers of opportunities for Ude Gatame double overnight. And that's a great thing for athletes who want to specialize in this move.
Got it. Oh, John, a few questions. And people, every time I teach this, for example, people always ask, do you do the grip like this? Or do you do like this? And when do you do one, when do you do the other one?
Excellent question. I've been asked this 1,000 times too. Okay, here's the short answer to it. My favorite grip for any situation where I'm underneath my opponent's arm is hand to elbow. Why?
Okay.
What's the logic here? Well, the whole way you're going to control this opponent of yours is to get your elbow pointing towards his head. If my elbow points away from the head, look how easily Placido's head moves over mine, and that's when they pull free. So our whole thing is to lock in this position. Now, the strongest lock is to grip your own elbow and use this hand to point your elbow to his ear, okay?
Right.
If I cannot, for whatever reason, do this, the second best grip is to lock wrist over wrist.
Wrist over wrist?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what I don't want is my wrist moving away from my face.
Got it.
Okay, so best of all is to make my elbow point at his ear. The best way to do that is to grip your own elbow and physically pull it into place.
Good.
If for whatever reason I can't do that, the next thing I have to do is prevent my hand moving away. So we lock and come in here. There is one great exception to this rule. There is one time when palm-to-palm grips work really well. And that is, if the camera comes on this side, that is from half butterfly guard. From half butterfly guard situations, this is the one time we want to lock with our wrist inside. Why? Because when we elbow escape and come through, this is a good position to use the wrist to break. This provides the optimum break from this position. And from here, this will set up a bunch of ways for us to enter into Juiz de Gatame follow-ups, etc., etc. Okay?
Good.
So, great question. The short answer, when you can, grab your own elbow. If you can't, cross wrists.
Never hand to hand.
Unless you're half butterfly guard. Half butterfly guard, as we just saw, then we go hand to hand.
Oh, okay.
So there's one case, there's one specialty case where we prefer hand to hand. But why not regularly hand to hand? Because my opponent's elbow can turn inside my grip. When we grip in here, he turns easily inside.
Good.
What catches him in place is the lock of my elbow over the tricep tendon. You don't lock the elbow itself. There's a tricep tendon that extends 2 inches up above the elbow. That's where my elbow is positioned. So if someone was standing vertically over us, they would physically see the point of Placido's elbow. Then when we lock it in place, that's where it comes out. Okay?
Oh, that's awesome. And no, I love this because when you're going against someone who's good at this, it's scary because almost like everywhere you touch, the submission can be
there. You
there.
can't even touch the floor.
Yeah.
It comes out quick. You can't put a hand on their body. And, if I'm working inside your guard, it's suicide for me to put a hand on the floor. You easily get me there. I can't put hands on your legs. You put it right in there. Right? If you off balance me in any direction, my hands are on the floor, you can attack me. Okay? If I'm standing up and trying to play with your legs and you sit up, you can easily attack it from in here and go to work.
Yeah, you know, in fact, I had a friend that he was playing these shields, and even from these shields, if you touch my shoulder over here, bam!
It turns any crossface into an Ude Gatame attack. Like if I start coming forward too aggressively, you just go right in.
Yeah.
Especially when you start playing with your knee on this side of my head. It's terrible.
No,
so it's an intimidating lock. When a guy's good at it, it's a scary thing to deal with. You're afraid to place your hands, and
Yeah.
how are you going to do
Yeah,
that?
then your confidence goes
Yeah.
here, and your opponent's confidence goes there, and
Now you're leading the dance.
yeah, no, and I used to train for Marcelo, who was one of the best at this, and that was exactly the feeling, you know, like anywhere you touch, the submission is there, so you were always very careful on how you would touch him.
But if you can't put hands on people, how are you going to win?
How you gonna, so it's like
so it has immense value both as a submission hold and as a tactical weapon as well, and that's the big theme that we push in this video. Like, because the central complaint about Ude Gatame since the dawn of time has always been, well, if you actually look at a table of the successful submissions in modern competition, Ude Gatame is way down the list.
Yep.
Like, dude, everything comes ahead of it. Like,
Yep.
you'll see nowadays in ADCC, it's a battle between heel hooks and rear nakeds for the number one. Then you'll see Ude Gatame, you'll see Kimura, you'll see even things like, you know, Das's triangles are well ahead. And then way down the list, I think in the history of ADCC, it's definitely less than 10. In the entire 30-year history of ADCC, it's less than 10 successful Ude Gatames. And it may even be less than 5. I'll have to check on that. But it's a very low number. And you compare that with heel hooks, man, like, there were probably dozens of heel hooks at the last ADCC.
Yeah, no, and I love it that you can work for gi and no gi as well. Like, there's no, it works for both. And
but once you understand that its real value is not just as a pure submission hold, but as a way of tactically directing a match through intimidation, then do you see, okay, that's its value.
Yeah, and then you work the sequence.
And when you get it, it's a fast finish. It comes on quick.
So guys, this is the second part of Master the Move series that John is working on right now. And John, I love this series because, I mean, like, how many moves you haven't created instructional yet? So this is we
never did
such a great idea
on Ude Gatame. We never happened. So I'm
one of the first ones was the regular armbar, right? Like was entered the system.
Ude Gatame.
That's awesome. Yeah, so guys, it's gonna be at IBJJFanatics.com very soon. Maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So make sure to check that out. And thanks so much, John. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
Professor.
Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
IBJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTube Faria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.